What's going on, YouTube? Today I'm gonna hit you with a Marvel Rivals character concept video. I have two characters for y'all: Iceman and Mysterio, a Vanguard and Strategist respectively. Let's start with Iceman. As you can see on the screen, we're gonna make him a 5-star here. It's gonna be pretty difficult to play, kind of a hard dude, right? Ayo. His first move, Frostburn. Here it says the cone area of effect, dealing damage to enemies held for a certain amount of time, will slow down and eventually freeze the opponent. So I kind of imagine it like a pretty close, kind of constant burst. I don't really know if that's an oxymoron or not, right? But it's a constant burst, and if you hold it for long enough on one opponent, they eventually freeze. But at first it's gonna slow down, probably around 3 seconds for a slow, and if you hold it for like 5 seconds, they freeze. Let's start with his first special move. We're gonna do a slippery slope. Here it says, Iceman cannot create ramps and slide across. Effective range of Frostburn will increase on the ramps. So his primary fire will have a greater distance if he's on one of the ramps. Basically, obviously in the comics, Iceman likes to make a lot of ramps. He's kind of a surfer dude. Not really, but I kind of wanted to incorporate that in his style. He can essentially put ice on the floor, which allows him to glide, or it kind of turns him into like a flight character. He can kind of spin around. He can create some pretty cool constructs. I would have it tied to like the flight meter, so he has like a certain amount of ice before you know what I mean. Second move, Rising Ice. Form a massive ice pillar which launches you in the air and pushes enemies back. So in Mortal Kombat, I'm a big fan of Mortal Kombat. Sub-Zero had this move in Mortal Kombat 11 where he kind of launches himself up. It's kind of pointless in the fighting game, but in this game, it allows him to create a ramp already in the air, and it allows people to essentially push. If they're getting close, he pushes up and kind of slides away. Then we have an ice spike, which would be kind of similar to kind of Magneto's secondary fire. He kind of just a long range attack that he can spike you with. We're gonna come back to Ice Clone in just a sec, right? But his passive, Blizzard Aura. After using a primary fire, melee, or special moves apart from Ice Clone, you gain Blizzard Aura, increases your health and size, and is the only way to increase your ultimate points. So let's look at his ultimate, the Abominable Snowman, right? Because so far he's not looking very Vanguard, right? How do we make him Vanguard? I thought, one of the power fantasies of the Iceman is first is sliding around, and then also kind of turning into a big monster. I thought it'd be fun. So I mean, he doesn't have to look exactly like an ice monster. He can just be a bigger version of Iceman. But his primary attack is just Hail Slam, which is just a melee attack. So this is a secondary form. He gains his ultimate pretty fast, so his ultimate's not like super broken. It's like a mixture of kind of an alternate form and the kind of overpowered monster characters like Magic and Hulk. His first move would be Snowstorm, which is create an area effect around you, slowing down and blinding enemies and making your own team CC immune, and possibly some overshield, but it's kind of a bubble, and as people get close to you, as long as you're big, the bubble's gonna be pretty big. It's gonna be hard to see a good Vanguard type move. His secondary move, Surprise. I came up with that one all by myself. Place hidden spikes that when stepped on or walked by, so you can place them on walls too, they deal damage. So imagine like a hidden kind of like bungee spikes that kind of pop out of the ground or pop out of the wall. They kind of spike you doing a lot of damage. Then we got iced out. So switch back into your normal form by leaving a hollow giant clone to take incoming damage, or you can send out. So I imagine kind of like Iron Man, you know how he like pops out of the Hulkbuster armor. I imagine Iceman pops out of his shell. It kind of leaves just like an empty snow shell, which can kind of function like a shield, like a Groot wall, or you know, Doctor Strange shield. And it takes a lot of incoming damage and allows you to recuperate, you know. So let's look at the Ice Clone move in his base form. So send your Ice Clone towards the opponent to deal damage and freeze those who are in its direct path. So this would kind of work like the Glortrox. You kind of just send it out and it walks in a straight line, kind of mindless, and it kind of like slamming everything until it does a final like slam on the ground, freezing anything right in front of it. Excuse me. And yeah, so that's about it. I think for his melee, you'd probably just have like an ice sword, you know, pretty close by. His team up ability, Meteor Ice. This is a team up with Spider-Man, because I wanted to reference Spider-Man: The Amazing Friends. So the Ice Clone can be web traced and swung around and slammed into enemies, freezing anyone in the area. So essentially, when Iceman pops out of his clone, if Spider-Man uses a web tracer, he can activate a move which allows him to essentially pick up the Ice Clone and slam it to wherever he wants. You know, so I think that'd be pretty effective. You know, I hope these seems like pretty fun character, guys. You know, I don't know. You know. Real quick, guys, before we move on to the second character, I wanted to talk about Iceman's alternate costumes. I was thinking possibly in his first appearance, he appears more snowy than icy. I think that'd be kind of a cute, fun nod. And for his alternate color, I would give him something yellow and blue, apart from the red and black, which he usually wears, you know. Or alternatively, if you want a different alternate costume, you can give him this one. Obviously, you gotta give a nod to Drake, the Iceman himself. You know, Mr. What Did I Miss, you know. But yeah, let's move on to Mysterio. Yeah, I would give him a 4-star rating. You know, he's kind of complicated, but not really. You know, I would give him his first primary fire is laser projection, which unleash a VFX beam, healing nearby allies and damaging enemies. This would kind of work like Emma Frost's beam. It's just a beam, does healing, does damage. You know, not crazy. But his first move, Stunt Double. He's basically just a copy of Emma. I'm not gonna lie. His move is Mental Projection. You know, remember Emma's Mental Projection team up where she kind of creates a clone of Psylocke and Magneto. I would give that to Mysterio, so he can create a clone of anybody on your own team. You know, it says create an illusion of your own teammate to confuse enemies. They would use abilities the same. They would move around, you know, exactly like the team up, except it'd be a little more subtle, you know, because of his next move, CG Hide. That's another pun. Create a mist, which makes allies go invisible and does healing over time. So this would kind of work like a Jeff bubble, almost like around the size of a Jeff bubble. It's a kind of a smoky, little cloudy area where you turn invisible. The enemy cannot see you, but you can attack them, and they can see attacks coming from the smoke, right? But the way the gameplay loop is supposed to be played, You clone one of your own teammates, and then the teammate hides in one of the clouds, which are destructible. They would have like the same health as a Namor squid. He would have around like 4 of them, you know. So you know, they would be empty or not. You know, you never know. We never know with Mysterio, you know. Actually, you don't know. So the gameplay loop would be clone your own teammate, have them hide, and you don't know in which cloud they would be. We gotta give him an escape tool though. I would give him head roll, which it says turns into a giant glass ball with overshield that heals you over time and is able to roll any direction, even walls. So I love when Mysterio does some crazy stuff with his ball-shaped head. I would just make him turn into a giant ball and he could roll, you know. It does a little bit of healing, just a quick escape tool, you know. I just realized that I completely forgot his ultimate. It's called Smoke and Mirrors. His ultimate says, in the area of effect, the enemy team views everyone as Mysterio. Friendly fire is active. Any damage done to your team becomes healing. So, what that mean? Use your imagination. I want you to imagine this. A big bubble. Everyone inside that bubble is Mysterio, basically. They have the same username. It's just all Mysterio. Even when like on PlayStation, when you hit like the middle button and it comes up with all the scores, it just says Mysterio. I think it'd be kind of funny. So if you were getting hit with the ultimate from the opposite team, you only see Mysterio, and if you hit a Mysterio that's on your team, you do damage. But if you hit a Mysterio that's on the opposite team, it gives them healing. You know, and on, let's say the Mysterio's on your team and they pop ultimate, everything just looks normal to you, so you don't have to worry. I think it'd be kind of a fun, kind of support all, you know, it's not just give everyone 1,000 health. I think it'd be fun, you know, a little mysterious, a little tricky, you know, just like Mysterio. And then says, because I want to give him a massive head, reduce headshot damage, just like Jeff. And then for his team ability, I would give him with Iron Man, you know, I call it barf technology. Mysterio gains the ability to fly around on his own head. So he would take off his head and put it at his feet, and that's that's what allows him to levitate. I think that'd be kind of funny. This is my interview for NetEase. Please, NetEase, if you look at this and you like my idea, feel free to take it. Just give me a job, please. I really need one. If you have any critiques of, you know, if you need critiques, complaints, suggestions for any of the characters I just mentioned, go ahead, tell me in the comments. You know, tell me in the comments. You know, I'm just putting my work out there. You know, what are you doing? You're not putting your work out there. You know, put your work out there. You know, tell me what's up. Tell me what you think. For alternate costumes, I would give him his little Lego that you can see on the screen. I think that'd be kind of funny. Or alternatively, you can give him the Mysterio Noir. I think that's kind of a cool little costume. And for alternate colors, I would give him this one, kind of this red and purple. I think it looks kind of cool. So yeah, guys, remember to smash like, leave suggestions, tell me who you want to see me make another video for next. You know, I'm thinking of Cyclops, Bullseye. You want a suggestion? Put it in the comments. Just let me know.